Hey! Hello, welcome! Thanks for stopping by. It is time for another episode of John Park's Workshop right here in my workshop. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. We've got some people over in our YouTube chat. Hello, Johnny Bergdahl, Dave Odessa, Ray Arteb. Ray was asking about the YouTube video, if it was started or not, or if there are other places you could check out. Yeah, you know, we also broadcast over on, let's see, here's a list. What's all this? LinkedIn, Twitter, X, Twitch, YouTube, of course, Facebook, maybe some sort of Instagram thing. It looks like it's unable to connect, but I'm just looking at our list of, we use Restream.io to send out to a few different places, and that's a list of some of them. So if you're able to see the chat but not see the YouTube, that's weird, but weird things happen. Check out some of those other platforms if you can't see it where you wanted to. And then, of course, we've got a chat happening over in our Discord. So if you check out adafruit.it/Discord, that'll take you right to an instant link invite type of thing for our server, for our Discord server. And you can look for this live broadcast chat channel right here. We have a bunch of channels, a bunch of stuff going on, but that's the one you want to check out. Let me see, can I widen this? Whoa, oh, it's going off the screen. There we go, that's a bigger chat. And who we got over here today? We've got, looks like Andy Calloway and Jeff from Los Angeles. It's Windy, Paul Cutler, Blitz City DIY, hey Liz, Dexter, C. Grover, Jim Hendrickson, Johnny Bergdahl is here as well. Starman, hello. Thin Man, hello. Nice to see you. Oh, goodness. And Lars. Thanks, Todd. That just scared me. Jeez, the timing. Thin Man says, howdy, John. It'll be nice when they get more of these cameras built. Yeah, I'm going to show you a thing with one of these here cameras, one of these Momento cameras. I have it hooked up over there. Can you see it? Right there. It's kind of on a tripod thing, but I'll show you that in a little bit. And some candles, because I'm going to do some time-lapse, and I thought that might be an interesting one to time-lapse. You totally got me. Hello, Charles Burnaford. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. So, what else? What's happening here today? What's the show about? Well, here we are in my workshop. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to build some things. We're going to take a look at some Learn Guide recaps. I've got a coupon code for you. I have a Product Pick of the Week recap. I have a new CircuitPython parsec for you, a pretty cool one, I think. I'm going to show you a thing with time-lapse photography on the Momento and some ideas for some updates. I just wrote a proof of concept time-lapse script or code for it in CircuitPython. And I'll show you actually how I stitch together images to make a time-lapse after you've shot them. I'm going to Sorry if this is loud. I'm turning off my, where did I move the thing to? Turn off this AC, or this heater actually. Did that do it? Yeah. I'll show you how I use Premiere to stitch together my images into a movie or a GIF, and then you can sort of take those ideas and use them in other applications if you don't happen to use Adobe Premiere. They will work for sure in something like DaVinci Resolve, but there are also any of the sort of GIF builders online will allow you to import images and turn your still images into a GIF if you like. So there's a lot of ways to slice that, but what we'll end up with using the time-lapse feature is a series of JPEGs saved to the disk. I think you could save other file formats as well, but I'll use JPEGs. Those will work out pretty well. That may be it. I don't know. We'll find out as we go, as we travel through this this here workshop show today. So first of all, let me start off with that right there. That is a coupon code, LAPSE, L-A-P-S-E, LAPSE. If you type that in the coupon code field on your way out when you're checking out from Adafruit, so this is the site right here. Look, adafruit.com. That's what it looks like. If you head on over there, there's my browser window. You can see right here in the very sort of front page of the website, new products. We've got some cool. I ordered one of these. This is a USB-C 5-volt wall wart that has a on-off switch, a power switch in line, which is great. I really am a fan of. I've used these little standalone. We have various versions of these. I've used these with, I guess it's on the USB-A side. Some of them, this is a DC version of it, but I really like adding these to some of my power solutions, but this is one where it's built right in, so that could be really useful for any type of USB-C project, particularly for something like a Raspberry Pi, excuse me. So you can shut it down in software, but then click off the actual power, so it's not drawing anything. That's an example. We've also got these really cool colored silicone deluxe jumpers, breadboard jumper wires. I had asked Lamore about this about 2 years ago, I think. We have our silicone jumper wires. Where did I put some? Have I lost them? Here's one. This one's plugged into something right now. I really like these. These don't get sort of the bend memory of a typical vinyl PVC covered wire, but we only have them in 4 colors typically: the red, black, blue, and yellow. But when I build projects on a breadboard and am documenting them and using fritzing to document them, I like to use a number of different colors so that the wiring is easier to follow in a tutorial. And now she's done it. Mary Youngman and Lamore went out there to source some stuff, and I don't know if we probably got these custom made. It took a little while, but we got them now. So we have these multicolor wires, and you can pick these up in the store. We have them in stock right now. You can see there, I just ordered some last night. And you'll get 10% off if you use the coupon code LAPSE, not Lars. Someone mentioned in the chat, and it's not Lars. LAPSE. And how many colors are these? What do we have? What is this? Is this 6 extra colors? Does it say? I didn't even look that closely. We've got a different, it looks like a different green, kind of a mintier green, a pink, an orangey yellow. Looks like there's a red in there, maybe white. Maybe there's one other that I'm missing. But anything on top of the existing colors is great. Just makes documentation easier. It also just makes it easier when you're wiring stuff to follow what you're doing. So that's an example of something you could get. Go grab some stuff like that in the store right now, and before the end of the day today, it'll be midnight East Coast time, Eastern time in the United States. You can use this coupon code. It'll give you 10% off, and that is good on any products you can buy in the store that are actual physical goods that will ship to you. It does not apply to gift certificates or software or subscriptions. And since I mentioned the store, I will also say you can get some cool free stuff. So if you look right here at adafruit.com/free, not with all those extra numbers on the end, you can check this to see what are the goodies you can get if you order a certain amount. So you can see we've got 4 different sort of breakpoints for purchases. So at $99 or more, you'll get the PCB coaster. At $149 or more, you'll get the coaster and a KB2040. $199 or more, sorry, that was $149 or more. $199 or more, you'll get free UPS ground shipping in the continental US, as well as the KB2040 and the coaster. And then if you spend $299 or more, you'll get a free Circuit Playground Express and the UPS ground shipping, the KB2040, and the coaster. So those are all things that you can get if you spend a bunch. But no matter how much you spend, if you want to get 10% off today, use that coupon code LAPSE, not Lars, but LAPSE. All right. So next order of business is I have a show on Tuesdays that is that right there, that thing, whatever that is. It's the product pick of the week. And this week it was this rotary encoder breakout board. And on the show, I give you a little bit of a demo, talk about the product, take a look at some tutorials, and give you a whopping 50% off. In this case, the discount can vary, but this case was 50% off during the show. Here is a little 1-minute recap of what we looked at. The quad rotary encoder breakout board with STEMMA QT and I2C. So this allows you to use rotary encoders with the little push button, and it gathers up all the data from those 4 encoders, sends that message over I2C to your microcontroller. So what I've got here, a little QT Py with the STEMMA QT connector that is running to a little 14-segment alpha numeric display, and then I have my breakout board for the quad rotary encoder. One of the advantages of using encoders over something like a potentiometer is we have definitive stops. So each little kind of click that I get to, we can update some value. So in this case, I'm just sort of using these as a little animated indicator. And then we also have the little push encoder, so I can click on those and get the little dot sign to show up. It is the quad rotary encoder breakout with STEMMA QT over I2C and underlit NeoPixels. That's what it is indeed. Also, I just got a note that my mic volume was sounding a little low. So I've just tweaked that up. Let me know if that's pretty good, if that's peaking out, blowing your eardrums out, just let me know. Also, I think that was in comparison to the pre-recorded video was notable there. Yanisku says the quad rotary encoder STEMMA is cool. Yeah, they're really neat. A really nice way to add those encoders to your projects without doing a ton of extra wiring, as well as not having to run out of pins to use. In fact, it's so cool that I'm reusing this little board that I put together, that little demo. I'm reusing that physical layout and some of the code to show the topic I wanted to cover today in the CircuitPython parsec. So there's my segue. Check it out. Okay. Ooh, that's, let me adjust the camera. It's a little funny. Let's see if I can goose that exposure a bit. It's not. That's probably a little better. Yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of flicker on that today. Who knows why? It's mysterious. Okay, so let me remind myself of, okay, there's the number. What I wanted to show for the CircuitPython parsec today is how you can compare 2 lists to each other to find out if they match and then do something with that. So what you'll see here in my code, I have one list that's called combo, like a combination, and a second list called dial, which is the 4 little dials that I have here, these little rotary encoder knobs. What I'm looking for is a match between them. Have I dialed in the correct combination, in which case we can unlock something, give you a prize, make a sound, whatever you want to do, is based on getting a match between those 2 lists. In CircuitPython, this is really slick, really easy to do. all we have to do is simply say if one list, in this case named dial, equals the other list, combo, then we've got a match and we can do what we're going to do. So we don't have to iterate through the items in it. We can just simply say, is this list the same as this other list? Doing this in practice, you can see here, I'm going to turn my little knobs on the rotary encoder breakout there. So I'm going to go to this combination that I have set 4, 2, 0, 1. And there you can see it says open. So that's the bit of code that I want to run in case these match. Then I can go and kind of reset it, dial in some other numbers, and you'll see this just acts the same as usual until we make that match. So every time I change a number, it's able to run the little comparison. There you go, I got it back again, open. So that is how you can compare lists inside of CircuitPython. And that is your CircuitPython parsec. Oh, someone said we couldn't see. Did I never scroll this? Oh, that's interesting. It's not updating. Oh, all right. We're going to redo that from scratch. I just realized my my code window view there is static. I think that's because I had closed that window down, so it's trying to point at a window that doesn't really exist. Let me see. All right. Thanks for the notes. I wish I'd seen them sooner. Let me bring in. There we go. Okay, so now you'll see things changing. Okay. Well, lucky me, I get to do that all again from scratch. So let's just dial in some numbers there. Take 2. Right, that's right, Dexter. Here we go. So let me bring this back down here because we don't really need to look at all this code, but we'll look at this part right here. Okay. What I wanted to show you today on the CircuitPython parsec is how you can compare 2 different lists to each other. So this is really slick in CircuitPython. You can take one list and another list that are filled with values and simply ask, does this list have the same contents as this other list? You don't have to iterate through them or anything. You can just simply ask the question. Then if those lists are the same, you can do something such as send a message, play a sound, unlock a lock. And in fact, the example that I'm using here is kind of like a combination lock or something you might find in an escape room. I have a couple of lists here. One is called combo, like a combination lock. And you can see its current values are 4201. And then I have a second list that is called dial. And the dial is currently set at 0000. But I'm going to be updating the values in dial as I change these knobs here and dial in new numbers on my display. What you can see here is I have a little bit of code in my main loop that says if the first list, dial, is equal to the second list here, combo, then we're going to go ahead and pause for a moment and then display the word open or do whatever other thing you want to do. So I'll do that right now. I'll go ahead and you can see each time I am changing a value here, it's going to run that check and see, does this one list equal the other list? So 4, 2, 0, and 1, boom, it says open. So that is really slick, really easy to do. All you have to do is say, does this list equal this other list? And CircuitPython takes care of all the rest. And so that is how you can do list comparison inside of CircuitPython. And that is your CircuitPython parsec. All right, was that visible that time? I hope so. It looks like it was. Yeah, it wasn't moving around before, but I think this time you got it. Let me know, otherwise we'll just keep running that. In fact, that'll be today's show, is just 19 takes of one CircuitPython parsec until it is absolutely perfected. Would you stick around for that? It was perfect. Thanks, C. Rover. All right. I improvised a little. Things changed, but hopefully that was clear. And I remember doing this in C and in Arduino in the past, and it was a much more involved sort of for one list, every item in it, check against the other list, every item in it. So you had to sort of do a bit more work to do it. But CircuitPython, Python in general, makes that really easy to just compare a couple of lists like that. So good on Python, very easy to do and straightforward. And you can see here, yeah, I also updated this to, instead of the moving little segments like I was for the product pick of the week version of it, now I'm just cycling through the numbers there. But it would work either way. We have numbers to compare. We can do anything. Okay. Same order list. Some nice asks, do the lists need to be the same order? Yeah, so I'm comparing index 0 to index 0 value, index 1 to index 1, index 2, index 2. There may be intricacies with it. I don't know about being able to ask for more complicated versions of it, but the most straightforward version is just, is it apples to apples? Do these have the same values? And I'm not sure what it does in the case of, actually that'd be kind of fun to test. Let's see what happens if one of these has a different number of items in it. Let's just make one longer, and I'm going to resave that. I don't know if these can ever be the same list in this case or not. Let's see. Yeah, I can't. If I added another item to the second list, let's see. Yep, now they match. So as far as sorting goes, I'm not sure. Good question. Be worth maybe digging into a little further. But that's the very high-level, simple version of it is apples to apples. Are they the same? Then we'll do a thing. Okay. Next up, what have we got? I wanted to show a couple of Learn Guide updates. Lamore had mentioned one of these last night on Ask an Engineer. So this is for the Memento camera main guide, and Liz put together this guide. It's got all you need to know about getting started, and what I've been doing is adding these little sort of snippet examples, these little starter projects. And so first one we had was the basic camera. Shows you how to in code tell the camera what resolution to use, what mode, what effect, and then just take a picture. We have the fancy camera. This is the main, really this is the main example camera from Jeff Epler that's in the library. And here I'm just showing you, this is Jeff's code. Here is how you use it. And so I give you some examples of using the autofocus that you can do on ESP camera, as well as using the user interface to go and select your different modes, effects, resolutions, and so on. And so those I put up actually before the break, and now I've just added this one here, animated GIF creation. So you can see here I'm able to shoot a little 2-second, roughly 15 frame. So it's running at about 12 frames a second-ish, something like that. Animated GIFs at 240 by 176 resolution. So they're small. They're perfect for things like reaction memes, throwing into text threads. They're nice and small. I think they always are coming out around 66K or something like that. They're pretty tiny, which is great. And with this, you can do all of the other effects. Your resolution is fixed, so you won't be picking that. You can still do autofocus, so you can click and hold, lock in a closer center object, and then press the button. It'll start the recording, and it stops it on its own after 2 seconds. So you can see it's good for these type of small animations, movements. Here you can see I've turned on the solarize effect, and I'm just panning across some knobs. I turned on the invert effect and just moved down a ladder. And then I also turned on, for this somewhat disturbing one here, this guy, the front-facing neopixels. So unplug this for a second. Bring this over here. This is an add-on for the Momento camera. I don't think it's out yet, but I have an early preview of it. This is a front panel. You can still see the camera through there, and you'll hook up a little JST connector here so that we can run the NeoPixels that are on the front there. So I just had that lit at kind of a magenta-y, pinky kind of color while I shot the GIF. And then I mentioned you can also do things in post-processing. So the default is going to be just that 15-frame animation. But if you go into something like, what is it, GIF Creator? Did I mention that link in here? I thought I had somewhere. Oh, in the stop motion section I do. There are websites, or you can use applications. I use Photoshop for this, but you can use a lot of different applications to edit your GIFs. You can change the timing of them to hold frames for longer or shorter, duplicate frames. In this case, I just duplicated all the frames and then reversed their order so that I get this kind of looping boomerang type of effect. So it just plays forward for about, I think, 12 frames and then comes back for 12 frames. I cut out some middle ones that didn't help with the looping. So that is your GIF page. And then you can see some that are in planning, but I haven't done yet. But there's this is the ones in red. But there's one that I just posted yesterday, I think it was, or the evening before, and that is how to use the stop motion mode on the Memento built into Jeff's application. And these are this is also in the fancy camera, as I've been calling it. Sorry, Jeff, if you didn't want it called that, but I've needed a name for it, so I called it fancy camera. So it has one of the modes that you can pick. It just says stop on the bottom. So this is the stop motion mode. It is pretty much the same as the regular snapshot mode, except it has this one key feature, which you can see in this image here. It will give you a onion skin or ghosted version of the previous frame. So it starts out looking normal. As soon as you click one photo, it then overlays that at, I think it's a 50% opacity on top of your viewfinder. So you can frame up seeing where you were last, which really helps in stop motion to be able to see, okay, this hand was here before, I'm going to move it here so that it's moving, let's say, one full hand. Or if you want it to appear like it's going faster, you'd go further. So it really helps with posing, and also it kind of helps with things like bumping camera and bumping your subjects, your little action figures and things, because you can see where things were on the previous frame, line things back up, and then proceed from there. And you take a picture, advance, take a picture, advance. One note with this is it is a little tricky to keep things stable, because you're pressing the shutter button. And I believe that Pedro is talking about doing a remote trigger on a wire, which would be really helpful for the stop motion. So that's a nice thing to look forward to. It does look like meme camera. Some nice. I have this particular tripod adapter. These are great. These are like $7 or so on Amazon. I have a few of these, and they're used to just clamp in a iPhone or similar, but it works well for clamping this in, give me a nice stable base, and then I can connect it to any tripod I have. But it does obscure some of the back, so now it says meme. Yes, that is a Beastie Boys basketball. There was a pop-up museum exhibit thing that had some gift shop items, and I couldn't resist the Beastie Boys basketball. From the Atwater Basketball Association, I think they called it, back when they made Check Your Head and a couple others. So then the rest of this is, I do a little demo, you can see here, using a artist's mannequin of a little hand wave kind of thing. And there's, I mentioned, easygif.com/maker. So that'll allow you to import your images and then reorder them, trim some out, duplicate some. You have a couple of ways, because you can make a video out of this. In this case, this is a GIF animation. When you are working with things like videos or GIFs, you kind of have two options for your timing. If you want to, you can see the guy kind of holds there at the top. I didn't take that photo 6 or 7 times. Instead, I just either duplicate the frame 6 or 7 times so it holds. That's kind of a traditional animation approach, is to just hold the frame. Or in a GIF or in a video editing program, you can just say, oh, I'm going to have this one frame, but I'm going to change its timing. I'm going to say just hold on that one frame for 2 seconds or something like that. It doesn't really make a difference to the end result. It may make a difference in some cases for file size in a GIF, but probably not. I think if you're using the transparency, sort of a misnomer, but if you're using the transparency option in a GIF, pixels that don't change don't get stored. There's a type of compression in the GIF that just says that pixel is the same for this amount of frames, then it doesn't really make it any bigger. So that is the stop motion mode there. A lot of fun. And I also have a link in here to a guide I had done back, I don't know, what's the date on this? Back in 2018, going back a few years, on stop motion animation, just using a iPad and the built-in software, so it's kind of different ball of wax there. But I have some nice links in here to info on stop motion and frame rates, some shot animation. You can see a little setup I built there. And I also have a nice posing dummy here called a Sticky Bones that a friend of mine lent me that I was using for some animations. Talk about some stop motion armatures there, as well as how to tie things down, and also in this case using a, turn off the sound there, using a support and then green screening it out. So you can see I've got a little stand there on this guy, which I then just removed later in post-production. So that's a link to get a little more info on stop motion. Obviously, it's a broad subject with lots to know, but this will hopefully get you started with, I think, what is a really cool feature in Memento, as well as just the general idea of you kind of make what you want. If you wanted to have 3 frames of ghosting, it's pretty common in animation software these days to give yourself more than one. You can go 2-3 frames back and forward if you're in the middle of an animation. Some of those things you could write for yourself in CircuitPython, because you can do things like alpha blend with the bitmap tools. So every 2 or 3 images you take, you could build a composite and throw that one on screen. So all those things are, I think, within the realm of possibility, and that's kind of the power of Memento as a CircuitPython-based camera, is that you can hack it to do what you want, which is really cool. And so that'll serve as a segue. Let me check the comments first in the chats, but then I will move on to talking about time-lapse here today. Here is what's going on over in our Discord. Charles Burnford mentioned Pedro made a case that has a tripod adapter built in. That's right, yeah, so you can 3D print a case to put around it, and it has the screw thread adapter for, I think, a 1/4-20 standard tripod screw. You can have you could have the adapter on the front as well. This thing here, as long as you're not covering up the lens, you can kind of put this off to the side like that. That'll work really well too. Good idea. In fact, I might do that in a second here, since I'm not using the forward lights on it. Okay, so talking about time-lapse. So similar in a lot of ways to shooting the GIF animations and creating stop motion is this notion of using your camera with a software intervalometer. So an intervalometer is a gizmo that you used to buy separately and plug into your SLR camera or your DSLR camera later if it didn't have it built into software. And it was a device that initially was a mechanical sort of shutter button presser, and then later electronic that had a timer. I think in early iterations that was a mechanical spring-based timer, then later it's digital. I have one over here. Let me see if I can dig it out. In fact, this was one I had for a Canon Rebel, I think. Let's see, are you in there? No, it's not in there, okay. But they were often a little stopwatch looking thing on a cord. You plug them in and you say, okay, I want to shoot a photo every 10 minutes. And sometimes that was all it would do. Sometimes you could say, and I want to adjust things like my exposure time or my shutter time. So you could say, press and hold for, 1 second, and then release, and then 10 minutes later do it again. And this might be if you're trying to do some astral photography over the course of a whole night with a little bit of either added light because of how dark it is, or if you want to get some motion blur to things. So that's the kind of basic idea behind an intervalometer. It's a thing that instead of you sitting there taking a picture every 10 minutes, it does it for you. So the notion of a time-lapse video is usually that you've set up an intervalometer, you've taken photos every n amount of time, and then stitch them together and play them back. And then you can also decide the frame rate you want to play them back at. So at the slowest, it's a slideshow. If you get it going at 30 frames a second, 24 frames a second, then it looks like sort of full motion video that's just been sped up a lot. So that's the idea behind a time-lapse. You've seen them before. In fact, you see them every week on Ask an Engineer. Phil shoots a time-lapse of the machinery at the Adafruit factory working. So you can, of course, use your phone for this sort of thing, but sometimes if you want to shoot one of these, you don't really want to put your phone outside where it could get dirty, kicked, frozen, wet, stolen, or whatever. So Memento is kind of an interesting one to build your own little time-lapse camera that is nearly disposable, right? It's pretty inexpensive. And you can write software to do kind of whatever you want with the intervalometer. So I wrote in fact, let me show you the code for it first, and then we'll demo it. I wrote about 5 extra lines of code on top of my basic camera example. I'm just plugging in the Momento right now. I'll show you this view of things. And let's go reload the code. Okay, great. So here's my code. What matters here, it's the normal PyCam setup. I'm setting it in mode 0, which is just shoot and save JPEGs mode versus doing GIF or something else. I've set a preset resolution. In this case, I think I'm doing 1024 by 768. So these are suitable for turning into GIFs or smallish videos and won't take up a lot of space, especially if you're going to have it shoot for a long time and you're going to gather a lot of frames onto your SD card. I'm actually not using I could set this to 0. I'm not actually using the LEDs right now. They're not hooked up. And I'm not doing any effects, but we could say, okay, I'm going to shoot a time-lapse, but I want it to be in black and white or sepia tone or whatever. I'll just leave it at sort of normal color. And then I've added, here's my additions over basic camera. I've added a couple of variables. One's called frames. So in this iteration of it, I'm just going to tell it to make, let's say we're just going to make 60 frames. So it's going to shoot this 60 times. So that'll take, what, 2 minutes? Because I'm saying shoot every half second. Or, sorry, half a minute. It'll take half a minute. So every half a second. So frames, I'm taking 60 of them. Interval time, I'm saying wait half a second and then shoot the next one. So this could be 10 minutes, an hour, a day, whatever you want, so long as you've got either the battery life or you're plugged in over USB-C and you have the SD card space. It will save those images. It'll shoot those images like a clock every time you need one. So then in my main loop here, all I'm doing, I have a very minimal, there's no interface to this. I can't change those values on the display yet. I will. I'll make this so that you can basically program the intervalometer from the display on the back of the PyCam. But right now, I'm just doing it in code, and then if the shutter button gets pressed, short press, and in fact, I don't have the long press autofocus for close subjects right now, so this will probably be a little bit blurry. But I just started with my most basic example. But if we do the short count press, click release. It'll beep, let us know that it's started. In fact, I'm going to try to see if I can make it beep between each photo just so I kind of hear it happening. Let me bring this pitch back up. That might have been a little low for the speaker. So it's going to write a message on the screen that says which photo of the however many we're shooting it's going to be. So photo 1 of 60, 2, 3, just so I can kind of look at the display there and see what it's up to. And then I'm capturing a JPEG, playing my little tone. I'm setting the live preview mode so I can still see what's going on the screen, but really you don't usually need that for this. It's not a stop motion animation, it's a time lapse. So if you want to save battery life, if you want to keep the sensor and the camera as cool as you can, Lamore suggested this to me yesterday. She said, yeah, turn off the live preview mode, maybe turn off the backlight on the LCD, do anything you can to get the power consumption down low, and that'll help. As this sensor gets hotter, your images get noisier as well, so this could be a help to get the best images possible using the intervalometer. And then we just sleep this interval time, so in this case half a second, and it's going to run this however many frames I told it in my frame count here, so in this case 60. And that's about it. The rest of it is just the SD card checks and maintenance. So what I'll do is I'll resave this since I made a couple changes. And you can see right now it's telling me no SD. I got no SD card in there, so I'm going to eject my SD card. Give me 1 second. I had plugged it into the computer. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, sorry, I'm going to plug it back in. I have a bunch of images on there already. I'm just going to put them in a folder so that I don't get confused later as to which images there are. Kudos, by the way, to Jeff in his file saving code for the Memento camera that I based this on. He gives us padded file names with leading zeros, four-digit file names. So image 0000.jpg is the first file. That's really helpful when it comes to doing things like this, because you want to be able to get them in a nice order and not see 1 followed by 11 followed by 100 followed by 2, that kind of thing. So let me just put these in a folder. I'm sorry, you can't see that stuff that I'm doing. Okay, so I will eject this SD card. And you can see here, by the way, the display will update. It says it's mounting the SD card because there's a little switch there. It can tell that you've clicked. And it has found it to be OK. It's checked the file system and found it to be OK, so this is SD OK up here. And in fact, right now, I'll show you the demo of what you'll see on screen with this. So I'm going to lift this up. Yeah, you can still see that pretty well. And I will go ahead and press. There you can see it says photo 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm scared to stop it. I don't want to like corrupt my card here, so I'm just going to let it do this. Yeah, Andy Callaway, that's right. Computers can't count 1, 10, 100, 2. That's typical shenanigans with these computers. Alphabetized numbers, or whatever that is. Why is that taking so much longer than I want? Do I dare just turn it off? I'm scared to. I think we're going to let it. I'll let it beep. You know, I've got battery in here, so I can take it over here. So I will go start getting set up. Do I want to do that? Oh, no, you know what? I want to ditch those images on there, too. So we will just let it finish. But this is a very boring time lapse that it's shooting. Oh, by the way, you can see I'm not updating the image. I think I forgot one line of code that actually updates that. So I'm not updating the image until it's done. Now it's updating the image again. OK, so you can pop the card without turning it off, unlike with your computer where it's better to unmount. But it's OK to pop that out on the Momento. And I'm just going to plug this back into my computer, get rid of those images that are on there. I don't need them. And then we'll do a real example. All right. Yeah, that's a really boring time lapse. Okay. Trash. And eject. And what I thought I would try for this, still trying to delete, for this time lapse is I grabbed some birthday candles from the kitchen drawer that everyone has that has birthday candles in it. And I'm going to light one of those and let it burn down or sputter and move around or whatever it's going to do, which I think might look cool in the time lapse here. I shot a different candle yesterday, but I'm hoping that since birthday candles tend to burn down pretty fast in the minute or so that we have there, it might look cool in the time lapse. So I'm gonna jump over to this view here and get that set up. Okay, so I've got USB-C here that I can plug in for power just so I don't run out. I'm not sure how charged my battery is there. And let's see, let me try it the way that was suggested. So that'll be, flip this around. Okay, so you can kind of barely see it on there. I'll zoom down a bit so you can see what I'm framing in there. So I'll probably need to back out a little bit, and I will see if that'll work. Okay, so I'm going to put a few candles here. If you're wondering what these cute little candle holders are that I have, they are the nozzles that I didn't end up needing from the pressure washer gun that I used for the Power Wash Simulator game. They just happened to catch my eye as a likely candle holder. So what I'll do, actually, you can do, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this, and I'm going to put them into frame so you can do some sort of stop motion-y types of things by filming yourself doing something. And one of my ideas is a time-lapse build. So if you're putting together a kit, doing some soldering, bringing up a board, building a model, building a Lego set, those are cases where sometimes you want to show the whole process, but you just want it sped up a lot. And time-lapse can be a nice way to do that. They tend to also look, they have a different look versus video where you'll have more motion blur and things like that. The frames aren't as crisp. So I'll probably do an example like that. But here what I'll do is I will hit go and put my objects into frame and then light them, and then we'll see what we get from the rest of the time of it filming that. So click, OK, photo. So it's starting. Hopefully those are in frame since I actually can't see the live preview. And now I will light these. I'm guessing some of these will be like sputtering and sparklering and trick candling, but maybe not. I hope that's in frame. You can also move again, I'm not seeing a preview of this, but I can move my camera. If you look at some of the really nice photo slider guides that the Ruiz brothers have done over the years, they've built mechanized camera sliders so you can auto crab sideways across a scene or dolly or truck. So those are also kind of interesting things to do with a time lapse is, oh, okay, just finished, is more than your object or subject changing, you have the camera moving through a scene. All right, so those didn't burn down that much, but I'll blow them out. But what we'll do is grab the SD card from there. And I'm going to bring them first off the card and into the hard drive on my computer. You don't really want to work off of files that are on the SD card. So you won't see this part, but I'm just opening up my Finder, going to my SD card. I'm going to copy the 60 images. I'll put them in a new folder. Just call it footage 2. And paste those into there. Okay, so now over in Premiere, you can see I was testing this before, so I have a sort of similar scene. I didn't do any candles, but I just kind of pushed those objects around. So I'm going to import the new footage. And if we preview those, so here you can see these are the JPEG images. Oh, yay, they were largely in frame, so that's good. So now what I'll do is I'll make a new timeline. And I'll show you in a second, I did, close that. There is one setting that's kind of vital here, which is when you're importing still images into a video editing software, which is kind of built from the ground up to expect a video clip to come in and to edit that. One of the settings we have to deal with, and actually I hope this shows up. Let me see if this is a separate window or if it's not. I'll just describe what I'm doing. But I'm going to go into Premiere Settings, Timeline. Okay, you won't see this. So let me see if I can add that window real quick. New screen capture. Window. Premiere. Where are you? Preferences. Okay. Okay, and it's nice and huge. So you can see here, this will vary. I recommend if you don't have a video editor, check out DaVinci Resolve. It's really professional grade, fully featured, and it's free, open source. I think it's open source. It's at least free. It will do pretty much everything Premiere will do. It's just not the software I happen to use. But what you're going to look for in whatever video editor you use is still image default duration when it comes into the timeline, or words to that effect. So I'm saying every frame that comes in, you're going to actually play it for 6 frames of the video or the animation. So you can change that, and that's just going to say, if we just played all of these, the whole thing would go by in a second, right? Or 2 seconds at 30 frames a second. But I want them to kind of hold a little bit longer than that. That's the point of the time lapse, is that it's not a smooth video and it's also not over in a heartbeat. So you can play around with these numbers, but I'm going to go with 6 frames is what it will hold each of those for. And you can see, is that gone now yet? You can see if I zoom in on my timeline, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames of that first image, and there's the second image held for 6 frames. If I just arrow forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so that's each frame being held long enough, I think, for you to at least be able to register what you're seeing. If you do it too fast, it's just madness. And tweaking that is a lot of the art of getting the look the way you want it. So I should be able to, in Premiere, just preview this at speed. So I'm going to tell it to play at full, we'll say at full frame rate, or full resolution. You can cut the resolution if it won't play back right. But here we go. Boop, 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 boop. Light, 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 light. Set that there. Realize I'm probably not framed. Hey, get it framed right. And there it goes. So ideally, I would set this up to run for a few minutes, and we would get candles burning down boop, 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 slowly. You could do it really, really slowly for a long time lapse of a seed growing, that sort of thing. If you have bamboo or something that's fast growing, you might do that. Construction stuff, building stuff, they're all great subjects for a time lapse. And so that is how you would set that up. Then you can go and you can edit this, do other things you want, and then export it. So this we could export that as a movie, as a GIF animation, however you want to use that. In fact, let's do that. I'll save this out as a GIF. Time-lapse 2, Memento candle, and I'll change it to be a GIF. This is not a great GIF export. It doesn't have a lot of options, but it can technically do it. 1024, 7068. So I don't really want it to be a 25 frame a second. I'll do it something slower. Let's do 12.5 frames a second. Size is good as is. That should be good. It's a little big, but let's see as far as dimensions go. All right, so exporting that. So that's now compressing that into a GIF. It just doesn't have a lot of the typical GIF palette and transparency and dithering and things like that. Those would be better suited in Photoshop, but this is a quicker place to edit them in the first place. So now, if you go and look over in Discord, I should be able to drag a little GIF animation in there. Let's see. Let me make sure it works first. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Oh, that's huge, 61 megabytes. Yeah. Let me see, can I get that any smaller? I'm gonna kill that. All right, let's see. Let's open up Photoshop. Partly the problem there is that probably exported at those 6 held frames. It probably exported those as separate frames, and it doesn't have a lot of good tools for compression of the GIF. So let me see if I can open it up in Photoshop and fix it real quick. Otherwise, don't worry, we won't worry about it. I'll be putting some of these in the guide. Time lapse, Memento candle, GIF. Let me open this. Let me do a screen share of my Photoshop session, so maybe you can see some of this stuff. Okay, so here in Photoshop, it's kind of, okay, yeah, I'm going to make this a bit bigger so you can see more. It's so squished that there's not a lot of interface on here, but what we should see are, yeah, so it made it of 150 layers. Okay, that's not outrageous. Is that already? Yeah. Okay, so this is not holding them. So this is just playing them as fast as I can. There's a lot of them. So it would be better to make these each one and held longer. But we can deal with that. Main thing I'm going to do is actually make them smaller. So let's take the image size down to like 640, 480. This will just shoop the whole thing. And then this is the key thing. I don't know, will you see this dialog box? This is the GIF export, the old school GIF export dialog box. Are you seeing this? Nope. All right, I'll add that too. Why not? So hold on one second. Todd brings up a good point. Yeah, my project resolution was huge. It was at 1024/768, which is quite a big ass GIF. Pardon my French. So let's do a new screen capture of this Adobe Photoshop dialog box. There we go. And it's huge looking. Okay, so this is where you can do things like, first of all, we can see the projected size. This is going to be 8 megabytes. That's quite a bit more reasonable. You can do things like change the color palette down from 256, which is the maximum an anime GIF can have, down to 128. And now that drops it by another megabyte or so. We can reduce the amount of diffusion dithering, which means it'll look blockier, but it'll save space because we get more compression, more similarities from frame to frame. Now it's down to 4 megabytes. I'll preview it. Sure, that's fun. You can see it's got some fun dithery stuff, but it's also only 4 megabytes now. So I'm gonna hit stop on that preview, hit save, and Memento Candle 2 GIF. It's going to save that, and now we can try again. Here we go. Boop. And voila! We have an animated GIF time lapse of candles. Very festive and colorful. Not fun for the GIF to compress all that flame stuff, is it? But that's the process. And we usually target like a 6 megabyte GIF in the Learn guides, which actually get turned into these looping videos for some reason I don't quite understand. But any Learn guide, we tend to make these not as videos, but as GIFs. Keep them small, which is good, or your pages would be slow to load, but then it converts it into some sort of a looping video. And so, yeah, so that's the basic idea behind the time lapse. And then I'm going to do some UI work with the buttons on there so that you can pick between a fixed amount of time that you want it to run for, or a fixed number of frames, or just hit it and wait for me to hit something again to stop. Hey, Kent Barnes, nice to see you over there on YouTube. The intervals, the interval time you'll be able to set on screen. I'll probably give you something like seconds in float, or minutes or hours, like a choice, so that you don't have to do a bazillion seconds to get it to take a photo a day kind of thing. Intervalometer is also useful for a self timer, like if you're trying to take a group photo, so maybe I'll include that. That's typically going to shoot a burst of 5 photos or 20 photos, but it'll give you a countdown timer. So I could probably use the little blinky LEDs on the front to let you know, bleep, 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 and then click so you can set the photo, run, get in front of the camera. One thing I don't think we'll be able to do, we were discussing this, ESP camera tool library stuff that our libraries are based on. I don't think they let you access the exposure time, the shutter release time. It would be nice to be able to do wide, bulb type of exposures where it'll hold it for a long time, close the shutter. I don't think that this sensor and that code allows it. So that's a feature we probably won't be doing. So you probably won't do any light painting with this. You kind of need that feature for like a single frame that's just held while you move a light in front of it. But that's some stuff to look forward to. So I'm going to try to go work on that stuff and get a little UI and start testing that. And then maybe I will do a like a build video, putting something together, put a kit together, solder some stuff, build a Lego set. Some nice says, one tip is to lock focus and exposure to have less glitching during time-lapse. These are great points. Yeah, time-lapse, as you're moving around and blocking the light and you see the sort of auto white balance and auto exposure doing their things, focus changing, those are all kind of distracting. So I'm going to write that down. Thank you, Some Nice. That was a really good point. If I could find a writing implement, where all my pencils go? Because I definitely don't want to forget that. Lock, focus, white balance, exposure. I actually don't know if those are, let's look at this GIF again, in fact. Does it look like, maybe it's not. Yeah, I think we would see a big shift when I lit the candle. So I think it's not doing auto exposure with each of these frames that are taken this way. It might be only at the manual shutter press that we're doing that. Auto stabilization can cause problems. Yeah, I don't think we have any auto stabilization in here. But yeah, anything auto, you want as manual as possible to make these work out well. So those are great points. Thank you. Sounds like you guys have some experience with time-lapse. That's very cool. All right, so that is going to do it. I think the last thing I'll mention again is that if you want to go buy some stuff today, I don't know if we'll have any Memento cameras in stock today, but if you want to buy some other stuff and you want to get a discount on it, head to the Adafruit store, use that coupon code right there, LAPSE, L-A-P-S-E, LAPSE, as in time-lapse. That will get you 10% off in the store. Oh, Gary says that the LAPSE code isn't working for them. Can anyone else confirm that code is working for you? I set that up in our little store thing earlier. I will go check right after the show. I will double check that everything about that is set. Got some other people answering over on Discord, so let me know. I don't know. I don't think there's any limitations on particular items or anything like that. So you shouldn't run into that if it wasn't a gift certificate or a subscription or a software item. So if it was an actual thing, that should just straight up work. But Andy Calloway, I see your ... dots. Do you have an answer? No. Invalid code. Okay. I will go fix that right away. Let me get that off the screen. You remember that. LAPSE. That's the code. I'm going to go try to fix that right now. That'll do it. So come on by tomorrow. I believe there's going to be a deep dive with Foamy Guy, either tomorrow or Saturday. Double check on our Discord and our blogs. And then we will be back next week with a whole slew of new shows. In the meantime, I hope you have a fun time. LAPSE code is case sensitive, so it should be all caps. That's how I set it to be. But who knows what mistake I made. I even got the year right. I'm pretty sure I said 2024. So I'll go check that right now. Thanks, everyone. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.